There is a forgotten mountain mine known only by whispers and half-maps. Black Vein Mine. Tucked deep in the San Juan Mountains of southwestern Colorado, it doesn't appear in any official mining registry. Some believe a creature was entombed down there. Others think it was something older, woken up by the miners. Official accounts claim the mine was sealed in 1913 after a collapse that buried 12 men alive. But the locals say that's not the whole story. They say that something moves in the dark, dragging claws through stone. Whatever it is, it didn't die. It waits. These are the stories of those that know the truth, those who have seen what waits in the darkness. Welcome to Whispers After Dark, where shadows talk and the night listens. If you enjoy unsettling true-style horror, don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell. Comment and tell us where you're from. Now let's get on with our stories. There are nights when the wind carries a low rasp, like breath rising from beneath the mountain, and stir memories best left forgotten. We should have never gone into Black Vein Mine. We should have never ignored the warnings, because something in there had been waiting. Not dead, not gone, just waiting. And he woke it up. This is It Waits in the Darkness. We weren't ghost hunters. We weren't locals. Just three idiots with a drone, a couple of flashlights, and a thirst for clicks. Dylan had found the story on some dead-end survivalist forum. Something about an abandoned mine that never showed up on official records. Black Vein Mine, they called it. Sealed in 1913 after a collapse, but the maps didn't match. Perfect for Halloween, he'd said. I didn't argue. I should have. We bushwhacked through a mess of twisted pine and loose shale for half a day before we found it. Half hidden beneath a rock fall, the mouth of the mine choked with beams blackened by time and rot. A rusted pickaxe leaned against the frame. Something had been spray-painted across the wood in red. Turn back. Not sealed. Not safe. Dylan grinned like a kid in a haunted house. Mason laughed, called it fake. I just stepped inside. The air hit me first. Thick, cold, tasting of iron and mildew. It clung to my skin like damp wool. Our boots echoed louder than they should have, like the mine was hollowed out all the way to hell. My flashlight flickered once, then steadied. We moved deeper, ducking under sagging beams, weaving around fallen stone. Rail tracks twisted like ribs beneath the dust. A helmet lay crushed beside an empty lunch pail, untouched for decades. That's when we saw it, the handprint on the wall. Not painted, pressed, stretched long and sharp. Too many fingers. Dylan said it was probably staged. Mason muttered something about it looking fresh. I didn't speak. I just kept walking, but slower now. Listening. The tunnel turned and narrowed. We passed into a second chamber where the ceiling had partially collapsed, creating a slope down into a lower shaft. The rope Dylan brought was old, frayed in spots, but he tossed it down and climbed first. Mason followed. I hesitated. Something about the hole felt wrong, like it breathed. But I heard Dylan calling from below, so I went. The air changed when I reached the bottom. Still cold, but now it carried something else. A faint vibration in my bones. The scent of ash and wet stone. I turned slowly, sweeping my flashlight across the walls. Scratch marks. Dozens. Deep gouges that ran in long, frantic spirals, like something had been trying to crawl its way out. Fresh dust clung to the grooves. No one said anything for a while. Then we heard the whisper. It didn't come from behind us. It came from everywhere. Just a hiss, wet, guttural. Not words, not language, just breath. Dylan spun around, beam shaking. Mason cursed. We should have run then, but we didn't. We kept walking. The tunnel widened again, revealing an old work chamber. That's where we found the bones. Not full skeletons, just parts. A shattered jaw. A rib cage caved in like paper. A boot with something still inside. Mason turned away and gagged. Dylan swore under his breath, fumbling with the camera. I didn't move. Something about the room felt watched. Then the lights died. No flicker, just darkness. Absolute, total. My flashlight refused to turn back on. I hit the button over and over. I heard Mason whisper my name, Dylan breathing hard, the sound of someone fumbling with their pack. Then we heard it. Not footsteps, not shuffling, crawling, nails dragging across stone, fast and too close. Something wet slapped against the rock ceiling above us. Mason screamed, a sound that cut off too fast. Something slammed into him, heavy, wet. I heard him hit the ground, then nothing. Dylan ran. I heard him crash into something, then silence. I didn't move. I couldn't. I pressed my back to the wall and tried to disappear. The sound came again, claws against stone, closer. And then I felt it, the heat of breath against my face, not human, not steady, fast and shallow, like something sniffing. My skin tightened, my chest locked. I couldn't scream, couldn't run. Something moved beside my ear. I could hear joints crack and pop. I could feel it watching me, though I couldn't see its eyes. Then the breath stopped. A hand brushed my jacket. Too many fingers, skin like old leather. And then, nothing. The lights flickered once, just long enough to see Move disappear into the tunnel behind me. I didn't wait. I ran. Somehow I found the rope. Somehow I climbed. The air thinned as I rose, my chest burning. I crawled toward the pale slit of daylight like it was salvation. When I finally broke the surface, I didn't stop. I ran until the mine was a dot behind me. I don't remember getting back to the car. I don't remember the drive, but I remember the phone in my hand. The video was still recording. The last frame shows Mason, standing in the tunnel, but his eyes aren't right. His jaw hangs too low, and behind him, clinging to the ceiling like an insect, I gave the footage to the police. They searched, found nothing. No sign of Dylan, no Mason, just our footprints going in. Only mine came out. I told them everything I could. I thought they didn't believe me, until one of the deputies pulled me aside and said his grandfather used to talk about the thing that lived in the cracks, and how miners that went in mysteriously disappeared. Maybe they dug too deep and something found its way through the cracks. Sometimes I dream I'm still down there, still lost, still being watched. I don't sleep much anymore. When I close my eyes, I hear that scraping sound again. Sometimes I dream I'm still in the mine, walking endless tunnels. Sometimes I see Mason's face, but it's wrong. His eyes are too big. His mouth doesn't move when he speaks. And sometimes I wake up with dust in my mouth, and the feeling that I am still down there and never really made it home. Our next story is called The Thing in the Cracks. You don't escape Black Vein Mine. Not really. There are nights when I still hear it calling, like breath behind the walls, reaching for me. This is my story, and I wish it wasn't. I wish I could turn back time and never venture into that cursed hole in the mountain. I wasn't chasing legends. I wasn't hunting ghosts. I just wanted a place no one had seen in a while. Somewhere old, forgotten, off the map. I found Black Vein Mine through a dead comment thread. One post, 2 sentences. 1913 collapse, 12 dead. No official records. Avoid past second chamber. The walls change. No replies. No context. But there was a map. A ridge circled in red, way off any trail system. That was enough. The drive out was long and rough. A logging road took me most of the way. Then I hiked 3 hours into a dead zone where the forest grew quiet. Not peaceful. Quiet. No wind. No birds. Like the land had been muted. The trail wasn't a trail at all. Just broken stone and the occasional gouge in the dirt like something had been dragged. The mine entrance waited at the end, buried under a rockfall. The support beams stuck out like ribs from the slope, black with age and rot. Something had spray painted across the frame, years ago, barely visible. Danger. Stay out. My pulse kicked up. I should have turned back. I didn't. Inside, the air felt thick, cool but not clean. Like water that's been sitting too long. I turned on my headlamp. The beam didn't cut far. Dust swirled in front of me like it didn't want to settle. The mine swallowed sound. Even my boots on gravel seemed wrong, too soft, too distant. The floor dipped gently, guiding me deeper. I marked the entry with flag tape, made chalk arrows, kept moving. I passed rusted carts, a collapsed ladder, a bent rail like something massive had buckled it. The walls were tight, too close for comfort, like walking through something's throat. I kept hearing faint noises, stones settling maybe, but sometimes it sounded like movement, small scrapes, pauses, more scraping, not close, but not far. At the second chamber I found the shaft drop. A wooden platform had once covered it, now half collapsed. A long, steep slope led deeper. I hesitated. My headlamp flickered. Then from the darkness below I saw a flicker of light, pale yellow, moving, just for a second, then gone. Curiosity pulled harder than fear. I went down. The air grew hotter, wet. The walls glistened faintly. My boots slipped once on damp rock. I caught myself on the wall and pulled back. Something was carved into it. Scratches, deep, curling grooves, not in any pattern, just frantic, desperate. The tunnel turned sharply, and that's when I heard it. Not a footstep, not breathing, scraping, nails or claws dragging slowly along stone, deliberate, long strokes, and something else, tapping, testing. As if it couldn't quite remember where I was, but it knew I was there. Then came the smell. It hit me hard, wet rot, copper, old breath. I gagged, my vision blurred, and then I saw it. My light caught something ahead. A shape, folded wrong to fit the tunnel. Tall, too tall. Its head brushed the ceiling, its limbs were long, stretched unnaturally thin, skin like waxed paper over brittle bone. Its mouth hung open, wide and broken, as if something had peeled it open from the inside. But it was the eyes I couldn't look away from. They glowed, not bright, just enough to pulse faintly in the dark, pale yellow, like the light I'd followed in. Except now I knew it was never a light. It was eyes. It didn't rush, it didn't move, it just watched. I froze. My breath caught. I tried to back away, but the thing exhaled and I felt it. A warm, wet breath washed over my face. Too close. It reeked of earth, iron, and something long dead. My skin crawled. I stumbled, caught myself, turned and ran. Behind me, scraping again. Faster now. Not on the floor, above me. The ceiling creaked, rocks dislodged. Claws tapped rhythmically, chasing my steps from overhead. I didn't look back. I couldn't. I don't remember the turns. I don't remember the climb. I crawled at one point, literally clawed my way through a collapsing shaft. Every time I stopped, I could hear it just behind me. Breathing, clicking, waiting. I just remember light, natural light, bleeding around the bend ahead. I ran toward it like I'd never see it again. I don't know how I got out. I made it to the ridge. I drove home in silence, still tasting dust in my throat. My clothes reeked of rot. The silence followed me. That night, I turned every light on in my apartment and still felt the dark watching from the corners. I left the bedroom light on, slept with my shoes on. In the morning, I found them. 4 long gouges, scratched into the drywall near the foot of my bed. Not accidental, parallel, deep. One of them curved slightly inward at the end, like a finger. I haven't been back to the mine. I haven't told anyone what I saw, but I check the walls now, every night, because sometimes the air shifts. It grows warm, still, and I swear I can smell its breath again. The thing in the dark didn't stay behind. It followed me out, and it remembers me. Our next story is Something Got Out. We thought it was just a story, just something to scare each other with while the flashlights flickered. But Black Vein Mine isn't empty. It can find you, and you can't hide. It was supposed to be a dare, a dumb Halloween tradition the 3 of us never outgrew. My sister Hazel, our cousin Marcus, and I, every year we picked something reckless, trespassing in old hospitals, sneaking into church basements, spending the night in places we shouldn't. That year, Marcus brought up the mine. He'd found it on a half-deleted thread about off-the-record disappearances, something called Black Vein Mine, sealed in 1913 after a collapse that killed 12 men. No park rangers listed it, no updated maps, just a red circle around a blank spot on the ridge and a comment that said, "Don't go past the second chamber. Don't speak your name." Hazel laughed. I told him he was nuts. Marcus grinned and said, "Exactly." It took nearly 5 hours to get there. The trail was barely visible. Trees gave way to dry, cracked earth. Everything felt still, not peaceful, hollow, like the sound had been drained out of the world. And then we found it. The mine entrance was a crooked mouth torn into the mountain, framed in blackened timber and collapsed stone. What was left of the warning sign had been scratched through with something sharp. On the top beam, someone had etched deep into the wood, "Don't say your name." Marcus laughed. Hazel rolled her eyes. I looked back at the woods, half hoping something would tell me to stop. But we went in. The tunnel swallowed us whole. The air was cooler, yes, but heavy, like old breath held too long. Our flashlights barely touched the edges of the path ahead. The darkness pressed inward, thick and slow. Every footstep sounded wrong, distant, delayed, like the mine was chewing up the echoes. We passed twisted rails, a shattered cart, piles of debris that didn't look like rock. Our lights flickered more than they should have. At one point, Hazel stopped and whispered, "Do you feel that?" I didn't understand at first. Then I did. The mine felt aware, like something down there was holding perfectly still and listening. That's when we heard it, a whisper, so soft it was almost behind our thoughts, but unmistakable. Our names, Hazel's first, then mine, then Marcus's. Each syllable stretched, slow and wet, like it was being pulled from something rotten. Hazel cursed. Marcus stopped walking. I held my breath. Hazel turned to go back. That's when the tunnel changed. The floor dropped without warning, and we stumbled into a wide side chamber none of us had seen on the way in. The beams overhead creaked. Our lights grew dim, as if the mine were swallowing them. At the edge of my beam, something pale pulled just out of view. Then the air shifted, warm and wet, and behind us, louder this time, the voices repeated our names. But they weren't whispers anymore. They were strained, echoing like someone calling from the bottom of a well, and beneath the names, something else. Scraping. Long, deliberate clawing sounds against the rock, tapping too, like it was mapping the space, measuring. Hazel grabbed my arm. Her fingers were ice cold. My flashlight flickered and went out. All the lights did. Darkness crushed in from every angle. It wasn't black, it was dense. It had weight, and it moved. Something shifted above us, heavy, fast. It skittered across the ceiling, then dropped somewhere nearby. Hazel screamed, and then it stopped. I shouted her name, but it came back to me like it had been chewed up by the dark. Something brushed past me, tall, thin, the outline of too many limbs in the dark. The breath that hit my neck was warm and foul, like rot soaked in copper. I couldn't scream. I just ran. Somehow I found a wall and followed it. I don't know how long I ran, scraping my palms raw, turning corners that hadn't been there before. I saw light, real light, and sprinted toward it like it could burn the thing off me. I crawled out onto the rock and collapsed. The air outside was thin, but it was real. I coughed and spit dust. I wasn't even on my feet yet when Marcus stepped out of the mine behind me. At first I felt relief. Then I saw him. He didn't look hurt. No scratches, no dirt. His flashlight was still clipped neatly to his coat, but his face was blank, too blank. His eyes didn't blink, his mouth didn't move unless he spoke, and when he did, his voice was flat and wrong. I asked where Hazel was. He paused, then said, "She didn't make it." No emotion, just those 4 words, rehearsed. We hiked back in silence. At home, Marcus acted like nothing had happened, but he didn't sleep. He stood for hours at the edge of the living room window, watching the dark. He didn't eat, didn't blink. Sometimes I caught him standing just outside my bedroom door in the middle of the night. He left 3 days later. No note, no sound, just gone. His phone was on the kitchen floor. One photo was open, the mine entrance. And in the shadows, something thin and tall, with 2 yellow glints like eyes. I tried to move on, tried to forget, but I hear things at night. My name, soft and stretched. The sound of claws tapping against drywall. And once, while brushing my teeth, I looked up into the mirror, and Marcus was behind me. Just for a second. Just watching. Smiling with a mouth that didn't look like his. There are claw marks on the inside of my closet door. Fresh ones, long and curved. My cat won't go near that room anymore. I don't think it took Marcus. I think it copied him, learned him, wore him, and now it's learning me, watching me, waiting. Because once the mind knows what you are, you don't have to say your name. Are these stories about Black Vein Mine truth or legend? What do you think? Maybe Black Vein Mine is just an old, sealed tunnel deep in the mountains. Or maybe something still waits in the dark, watching, breathing, listening. Legends and truth are often hard to separate because every legend begins somewhere with something. Every myth has a beginning. Every whispered tale is born from something real. In Black Vein Mine, that one came from me, born from my own imagination. Yet disappearances are real. The old maps with the sealed shaft? Real. Whether it's a curse, a creature, or just the mountain itself, something is keeping people from coming back. And if the mine ever opens again, I hope no one goes in. Maybe something really is still down there, scratching, waiting. And if you ever see a flicker of yellow light deep in the rock, don't follow it. Thanks for watching this episode of Whispers After Dark. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, explore more twisted stories right here on the channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a shadow creeping in. Let me know in the comments. Do you think something is still alive in Black Vein Mine? And be sure to join me next time for another eerie journey into the unknown. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and beware of the Whispers After Dark.